I have 5 steps that I tell my clients that if you're going to receive transformation, there's 5 steps. And the first one is you have to establish a clear vision. You absolutely can't say things like, um, yeah, I want to get healthy. I'd like to lose some weight. I'd like to feel better. Um, I'd like to tone up. Those things are all nice and feel good blanket statements, but they have no meaning, no purpose, no significance. We're talking about establishing a clear vision of what it is you want, being specific about what that means. Number two is you have to renew your mind daily, because what most people do is they use motivation as their tactic. And
Nope.
motivation, as you guys know, comes and goes. You
Hmm.
know what? It may be super high today, but tomorrow it's somewhere else. It's fleeting. But the truth is, discipline is the key to
It's right out of
being.
Jocko Willink's book.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And these aren't something that I obviously came up with, but these make so much sense in our lives, especially as followers of Christ. Renewing our mind daily, really, entrenching ourselves in God's word and reigniting with our real purpose. So you establish the clear vision of what you want, and then you renew your mind daily to put you in alignment with those goals. Number three is knowing that success requires you to swim against the current. Guys, if you look at our current, at our culture, it is built around people getting sick, staying sick, and dying sick.
Preach it.
You look at our food supply, look at our water, look at the way that we think. Everything's got to be now, now, now. And those are the complete opposite of what a life of purpose should be.
That's right.
And
Some things
so,
also you'll see receive put. I noticed like the people around you, if you're on a lifestyle change like that, generally they're not supportive. And I think it's because they feel convicted by the changes you've made. That's been my experience anyway. Because I went through like a 60-pound weight loss journey. I was unhealthy fat ass when I was younger, and I noticed like you don't get like any support from anyone around you, and it's just
no,
like I usually would get called like too you're being too strict like on your diet, and like you got to go out and like eat a pizza sometimes. Like yeah. Anyway,
yeah, especially with your health and wellness, that there's such a gray area, and so many people have failed that you know what most people don't want you to be successful. They want you to be miserable.
I want you to
um,
be like them.
in some regards,
Well, yeah, it's usually
it,
the things that they're falling short on, right? So I mean, the some regards is usually stuff that they don't want to deal with that they're allowing to persist in their life. It's sort of like they know they'll have to deal with it once they see your results. They'll know that it is an issue that can be resolved, so their excuses immediately become weaker. And it's a conviction thing, and it's also an accountability thing. And we read all about the Jews. People, humans hate it. They don't like it. So
absolutely, and that is exactly. I mean, being successful requires you to swim against the current, man. It's a hard. You got to know that you're in for a fight, especially when it comes to body transformation and to be healthy. You got to really work at it now, because being unhealthy is normal. It's normalized,
well, that's the
and it's
biggest issue,
all.
right? It's a big
Yeah.
business, isn't it, Joe? It's a lot of money
It,
involved with disease and feeding people crap food, and it's a lot of money involved with the medical and the food industry and just the advertisement
oh
and
my
just
goodness.
nailing people from being kids to what they're being fed in school. And it's a real, like you said, you're going against the
This is like
current.
it's
It's
like a
really tough.
cultural problem too, because there's many countries that it's not acceptable to be overweight. It's not
Mm.
acceptable to do a lot of these things. So you don't see it, and it's
You
like,
you don't.
how do we
You're
get back
absolutely
to that?
right.
Can we bring a little bit of shame back into society? That's like
Mm.
within
I
reason.
think that is a topic we need to have in a different show, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that need to be exposed and talked about in the way our
Mm.
culture is driven from a health and wellness standpoint, the way we think, and what's being made available to us. And man, guys, it's unbelievable. I recently went to a middle school to observe a lunchroom activity, and if you haven't done that, sometime you need to do that. If you have small kids in school, but just go to their lunchroom and observe, and the food that these children are being fed, and even the brown baggers, worse. And it's beyond saying, man, Joe, you're a little too serious about health.
Oh, it's life and
This
death.
is why we're so sick.
Yeah.
Poisoning kids from an early age.
I mean, speak it true.
Absolutely.
Speak it true. And I just want to let you know we're approaching the first hour mark. So if you want to work through these last tenets of your scheduling,
Well,
and stuff,
number 4.
yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, what Joe kind of hit on this. I mean, really getting at the source of why this has become normalized in the church is the agenda. You know, this political government, this mass money-making machine agenda. Maybe we could break that open after we're done with your process here.
Oh, yeah. This is a side note. If you guys, if you have Amazon Prime, there is a piece that is done. It's called Fed Up, and it is a documentary. It's something I think everybody should watch. It's called Fed Up, and it talks about what's going on in our nation about, health and wellness, and how the food and the drug industry have become this machine.
Yeah.
And what's happening because of that, as a result of that, and what's happening to our communities and to our children. And this, man, you watch that, guys, and I tell you, it'll rattle you.
Yeah, that's some of that demolition,
It
right
is.
there.
Well,
Societal
it's
level
a
demolition,
monopoly right there. So it's a giant monopoly.
It is.
On food and health.
Well,
It just-
demolition in the church. I mean, I just want to get to a point where we acknowledge that most of the people that are walking through the doors are addicted to sugar and food, and the church is embracing it. I want to just get up on top of that altar and start screaming it.
Yeah. Get some awareness. It all starts with that. But anyway, so not to digress too far.
Yes. Yeah.
You were on to I think we were past transformation, or were we past transformation? Or
Well, we're in the 5 steps of transformation, and I'm
Okay.
at step number 4, and that is something we touched on, is aligning yourself in the right environment, and that is with the right people. Get rid of the naysayers, get rid of the non-believers, get rid of the people that are negative, the people that are saying, oh, you don't need to go to the gym, you don't need to eat that, you don't need to be so disciplined in that area. You know what? Those are people you got to move out of your circle. Doesn't mean you don't love on them, but you know what? It's like I had to do to myself, is I literally had to separate myself from the people that were feeding my desire to kill my body, to destroy my body. I didn't avoid them, but I had to separate myself until I got my head around it.
That's key right there. Not avoiding them, but separating yourself. Very key. Very key.
Yeah, that's because you know what? I needed to love them. I needed to be an example, but I did need to get my head around the things that I was doing. And you know what? Environment is the number one variable to your health. And when we talk about environment, yeah, that's your refrigerator, your pantry, your car, your workspace. But ultimately, it's that 12 inches between your brain and your heart. That's the environment. We all know that. And getting that right through the demolition process of owning the things that I've done, my head and heart were not connected to my values or into my faith. And you have to create that first. It's not 75 hard. This is about, owning what you're doing daily, and then literally creating the mindset to the heart connection for your purpose to change that.
Speaking of 75 hard, that's what I got tons of flack for. I did that, and man, everyone was bothering me. Like, can't you have like one day off? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that thing's being sold as some health and wellness journey when in
It's a
fact
mental toughness
it's
journey.
all meant, and I love it. I think it's great, but I think it's better for someone that's already established physically, that maybe they're in that personal rut, or that they're, because people that do that 75 hard, that are people starting from ground zero.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do
Yeah.
that from ground zero.
It makes no sense. I laugh at
No.
that. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that all or nothing thing doesn't work very well.
No, you gotta be
Sometimes people get
sustainable.
addicted to programs too. Like
True.
they'll just find the next one and the next. It doesn't become something they kind of internalize as like, this is my process.
Mhm.
And we talk about that here because we like bodybuilding, but it might be some different type of way to interface with your body. Maybe, whatever it is. It could be
CrossFit.
soccer or skating or some type of sport. But we really just want people to be healthy and develop that dialogue for themselves, so that like you said, it's more of like it's a choice you make every morning to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're accountable to
Absolutely.
yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we got to get into some of those fundamental things that you guys are talking, because you're talking about some really important things there that you're talking about bodybuilding. I want to touch on that at some point, because that's a word people really don't understand.
No, they don't.
They don't, and it is so significant in your biology. I'm telling you, and I want to talk about the power of muscle and why that's important.
I'll write that down. We'll hit
Oh,
that.
so we were at probably the 5th point now.
Yeah, we are, and this is one that we all know, but very few do. And you must have an unwavering belief in your vision. I mean, you got to believe no matter what the day brings or what the circumstances are. You got to truly believe in what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. So if you look at this, what are the 5 steps of transformation? And we're talking about transformation from my level of changing your body. Dietary theory and workouts are important, but these 5 steps: establishing the vision, renewing your mind daily, get in God's word, pray for the strength to stay on task. No success requires you to swim against our culture. Align yourself in the right environment and separate yourself from those people that pull you the wrong way. And number 5, you got to believe in your vision. You got to believe in yourself.
Resolve. You got to have some hardcore resolve. You got to be resolved to complete the mission. And,
absolutely.
That's got to be. It's almost like, Joe and I, we wrote this short for our band, and basically keeping your word to yourself. Like the more you make those commitments and don't keep your word to yourself, the more fragile you become, the less able you are to believe in your own things you commit to yourself. It's so important to carry out the things that you start, that resolve.
Oh my goodness.
Keeping it, and because if you give up, man, you're just teaching yourself that you don't believe in yourself, or you don't take yourself seriously.
You just answered the question that I said earlier: is what is the cost of failure?
Yeah,
it's death to yourself, right? It's you actually are dead to yourself, right?
I mean, if you set a goal and you fail, there's no shame in trying hard. We don't all make $1 million deal. We don't all become class president. We don't all have success in life in those areas. But when you're talking about your health and your well-being, your availability, the loss is great. It means that you are on the sideline of life talking about your glory days. You're not involved in life.
That's right.
You're literally sitting on the sideline. You're a spectator.
Mm-hmm.
And you become that. You become that in your subconscious, and you start talking about your glory days.
Oh man, that's a
good old days.
You see it's one thing to be, an older guy teaching a young man a lesson through a story you lived, but to become a leech and a parasite of your own past is just the most depressing small place you can be.